All right, another fragrance video, like a normal fragrance video, talking about cool fragrances that of yesteryear. This is what it's called, vintages, really, really vintages. I bought two fragrances, and the person who I bought them from was kind enough to send me another 5 along with a package. What a nice person. They just thought that I might enjoy some of these, and it's uncanny. I have to say, it's uncanny how they've read my mind on the fragrances that I've always wanted to try that sort of never got to me. So I'm going to first off talk about the first one, which is one that's been intriguing me for a very long time, and that is this one. It is this Balenciaga Pour Homme, the legendary unicorn. This is a unicorn, and it's about 70% full. So I have 70 mils of this, and I did wear it. And usually I take vintages with a grain of salt because I know where they come from. I cut them some slack because I know they're old fragrances. I know the context of time in which they were produced and why they were produced, and so therefore I'm nice to them. I am. Most of the time I'm like, this smells like shit, but some of them are really great. And I'd read a lot about this, and I know a lot about this fragrance, and it is hyped, like low-key hyped. I was preparing myself to be let down. I chucked it on my hand as soon as I got it, and it blew my mind, absolutely blew my mind that this thing came out in 1990 and was produced for 11 years until it got discontinued. Its fate was written because, okay, so 1990, let's set the scene. So Cristobal Balenciaga was, I think he retired. He was a fantastic designer. Like, if someone's born to be like a fashion designer, it's that guy. He was really good at what he did, even as like a young boy. I think working in Spain somewhere, the richest woman in town or something saw his talent and said, you need to go to the main city and learn how to do couturiering or fashion design, whatever. And he did it, and he became really, really successful at it, and was forced to move to France because of the war. That afforded him a lot of opportunities because the French, fashion, French, it just goes together, right? Actually, he was very successful, but he retired in 1968. Cristobal Balenciaga retired in 1968. He didn't carry on his company. That's it. He was done. Right? He was like, yeah, this is me. I'm the company, and I'm not going to carry on my name. I'm retiring. I'm done. And he died in 1972. This is how great he was. He was called the master of us all by Christian Dior. Christian Dior called him the master of us all. Pretty nice coming from Christian Dior. He died in 1972, but there's a guy called Jacques Conquier, who founded a brand called Jacques Bogart. And Jacques Bogart brand bought the rights to the Balenciaga name in 1986. And then 4 years later, we got Balenciaga Pour Homme. Now, Balenciaga Pour Homme was perfumed by a perfumer called Gerard Anthony. And Gerard Anthony did Azzaro Pour Homme. He also did Paco Rabanne's XS and XS for women as well. He also did Iquitos by Alain Delon. He also did... What else did he do? He did Dali by Salvador Dali. That was a good one. And he also did Cristobal, which was a scent that came out later than this. Like, I think Cristobal came out in 2000. Yeah. And so this was produced for 11 years, and then until the Balenciaga perfumes was acquired by the Gucci Group in 2001. And they discontinued it. And so it was in production for 11 years. And I must say, I had no idea this thing existed and that this kind of scent profile existed at that time, 1990. We were sort of ending the 80s and the powerhouses and going into what was firmly going to be unisex, aquatic, and mild spicy territory and metrosexuals, etc. This was around. It's widely considered a flop. I can see why. I can smell why. But anyone who knows anything about fragrances, anyone who's into niche fragrances will smell this and go, holy shit, that's insane. And I was like, this is insane, because when I first put it on, it reminded me of Clive Christian's X for men. And that's probably because of the laurel or the bay leaf. And then it went into its own thing for a while. And I'm like, I swear to God, I can smell oud in here. Probably real oud at the time. I don't know if they synthesized oud at the time, because I think it was the first Western perfume to actually have oud in it. Reportedly, allegedly, whatever. I'm not going to confirm or deny, but I could smell the fingerprints of oud in here. And then it had like a Kouros kind of vibe, but without the pissiness. That was amazing. And if you smell it from the atomizer, it smells more like Kouros than anything else. But once you put it on, it's just ridiculous how well it goes from stages, it develops. And probably out of all the unicorns that I have and that I've talked about, this is the one that not only lives up to the hype, but it actually exceeds the hype. Now, you look on the grey market, this is freaking expensive. It wasn't cheap to buy either. This wasn't cheap to buy, but it's just something I had to satisfy my curiosity and have enough for multiple wearings. I thought if I didn't like it, there's enough of a demand out there that I could pass it on. But I love it. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal scent. I will wear this, especially now that we're getting into the colder season. It's the first day of winter right now as I'm recording this here in ye olde Australia land. And so this is going to come in very handy. It's got a built-in atomizer and everything as well. 100ml bottle. I don't know what batch this is from, and I don't really care because it smells ridiculously good. I can't convey into words how mind-blowingly amazing this is. I can't even get ChatGPT to tell you. That's how good it is. Even ChatGPT wouldn't be able to tell you how freaking amazing this is. If I wanted to tell you how amazing this was, there would be so much swear words in this video that I'd get demonetized. Okay, maybe I'd lose out on like 20 cents of revenue. I need that 20 cents. This was expensive. The other thing that I had purchased just out of curiosity was this small vintage bottle of Santos de Cartier Concentre. Now that last word is the key word because it's the concentrate. It's not the original Santos de Cartier, which was also released, I think, in the same year, 1982. I like the concentrate version better because of its chili. I think it's chili or something like that. Pepper, red pepper. Gorgeous scent. It's like my gateway into fougères, but I don't know if I could call this a fougère. This must be an early 90s or mid 90s formulation. The reason I got this is because I have a modern bottle as well. Modern, I mean, it's about 10 years old, but it's a more modern formulation. And I wanted to compare it against something that was pre-regulations, let's say. For fougères, it's especially important for that. And so I did a test, last night when I sprayed them on tester strips so I can get a very good sense of, and I know it's not my skin, shut up. I know what I'm doing. I'm comparing apples to apples, right? It's either going to be on this hand and this hand, or it's going to be on this tester strip and this tester strip. So it's the same thing. When you're doing a side-by-side, tester strips are fine to find out the differences between one and the other. On skin, will they do something different? Perhaps. I don't think it's going to be too much different. But this is the new Santos concentrate. This is the vintage. And it's still there. Still very there. And you know what? There is a difference, but I wouldn't say that one is better than the other. The vintage seems to be a tad bit smoother and a tad bit deeper and richer, right? But the longevity in the projection, and it may be just due to the age of the bottle, the longevity in the projection goes to the new one. And the new one is no slouch in this category either. And the new one is a little bit more fresher, and it feels like it's more in your face, whereas the vintage one is a little bit more rounded. So I kind of feel like I'm doing the Aaron Terence Hughes thing. It's a lol. I feel like that they're both great, no matter what formulation you get this particular fragrance in. Santos de Cartier Concentre is a ridiculously good scent, and I'm glad that I've got like another 25 or 30 mil of it, because I've got like 30 mil left in my newer sort of bottle as well. And I still do wear this fragrance. It's still a fantastic fragrance. I still like it. And it gives me very gentlemanly, very classy sort of vibes. Love it, love it, love it. It works beautifully. Like this is one of those ones that you got to spray onto your chest, and it needs to sort of radiate from underneath your shirt, and you smell it and you feel great. And when you feel great, then you're in a good mood, and you make others feel great, and you put others in a good mood. It's contagious, isn't it? And that's probably at the heart of it, what you should really be aiming for in fragrances is really to make yourself feel good. It's really to make yourself feel happy and satisfied and confident, and those things, those positive characteristics, then you become a contagion for that. You spread that disease of coolness and fragrantically charged positivity to others. And if someone smells it and says you smell great, you're like, cool, I know. So those were the two bottles that I actually purchased from this dude. But this dude was like, nah, I'm just going to send him a whole bunch of other shit too. So he ended up sending me one that I almost bought, but at the last second I didn't actually know. I left it too long in my cart, and then it got sold out from the website, and it never came back. And that was Gianfranco Ferre Homme. Yes, Gianfranco Ferre Homme. It is a vintage four-man. It's this guy. Yeah. It's a little sort of 30 ml eau de toilette spray, and it's a very vintage kind of scent. It reminds me of like an old wardrobe with a vintage fougere. It's nice, but I wouldn't really be writing home about it. It's not as smooth and classy as the Cartier. It's nowhere near the Balenciaga. It's a nice, and you know what? This was cheap when it came out, and it was cheap for a very long time, and it's decent for that price. You know, once you get into sort of higher sort of territories, you know, it's like, it's no Nobile or anything like this. But again, it's all right. It's nice. I think I've smelled this on an uncle, you know, when I was younger or something like that. It smells familiar. It smells familiar. The next one that he sent me was a bottle of Caron pour un homme de Caron. This is, again, I think a vintage as well. It's a little 30 mil, 25 mil spray bottle. And I did wear this yesterday, as a matter of fact, because I did get a vintage sample of this from my Canadian brother, Anuj. And that was okay. And I said how that sort of reminded me of my grandfather, but that was a dabber, right? This is a spray, so I gave it a full wearing. And it had, and I don't know, it's because this is like old, but it had a stale piss note, which I didn't like very much. But then that sort of, the stale piss dried down, and it became lavender again, and it was nice again. It reminded me of my grandfather again. My grandfather didn't smell like stale piss, by the way, so stop it. This, yeah, it's all right. I wouldn't, again, like some people are like, hey, but it's really, really dated. It's really, I wouldn't go searching high and low for it. It's a really dated scent, especially the way lavender is treated in there. The next one he sent was this here. This is like a decant of a 1990s formula of Lauder for men. So Lauder for men. I don't know if that's clear, but there's quite a bit in there. It's probably like a good 8-9 mil. And this started off pretty strong and overpowering and overbearing, but it really dried down to a very nice, almost like a clean soapy smell. and I like it. I liked it quite a lot. I've always wanted to smell this one, and a vintage one as well, 1990s formula, pretty good. Lauder for men. Warranted, the price? Is the price warranted? No, it's not. It's not warranted. So, yeah, you could, look, with these vintages, try and smell them first, you know? Like, if you haven't smelled them before, you got to smell them first, and then you go, do I really want to pay $300 for this? Do I? Do I really? No, I don't. Not this one. Nice though. Like, this is, in today's world, Lauder for men, probably a $50 fragrance. That's what this is. Next one, which I also have, I've smelled this one before, and I've got like a vintage mini of it, a 5mm mini of it. This is Heritage by Guerlain. And this is, again, the old formulation, original formulation. There's not much left in it because actually there was more left in it, but I wore this, and in the one day I got 2 compliments wearing this. I couldn't smell it anymore, but the lady at the post office was like, "Are you wearing perfume? It's really nice." I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "What is it?" I'm like, "It's called Heritage by Guerlain." She's like, "Oh, yeah." She's trying to write it down. I was like, "You can't get this anymore. You got to look online. They don't make it anymore." I was like, "You can probably get Danger by Roja, but that's like probably more expensive than getting a vintage of this. I'd much rather get a vintage of this then, because Heritage has heritage." And yeah, the other person who commented was my mum. I'm not going to lie and say it was like a supermodel or something. It was my mum. She was like, "Oh, that smells nice." Like, yeah, it's Heritage by Guerlain. And it does smell nice. This is one of the nicest smelling old school fragrances. I say old school, but this is like a 90s release. So it's not that old school. I mean, I don't consider 90s to be that old school, especially now it's making a comeback, right? So yeah, Heritage, beautiful scent, beautiful scent. Guerlain's really good at reformulating their stuff as well. So you can probably just get this in any kind of form because this was reformulated a couple of times. So yeah, try it. You can try it. The last one, which I'm so happy that I got to smell, because I recently missed out on one that was going on eBay, and I'm spewing that I didn't raise my max bid, but it's this one right here. This is a decant of something called Metallica by Guerlain, or also known as Metalys, because I think they got sued by the band Metallica, and so they had to change the name. And this I wore, and I've got a bit in here, so that's good. And it is, I'm out of words to describe this. This is just absolute freaking magic. It is one of the best scents I've ever smelled. It's ridiculous. Like, totally different ballpark to the Balenciaga. It does remind me, it does remind me of this. And for people who don't know, I do have a travel atomizer of Roja's Haute Luxe. Actually, people get it wrong. The name of the fragrance is not Haute Luxe. The name of the line of those purple caps is Haute Luxe, and the name of this fragrance is simply called Roja. It's just simply called Roja, Haute Luxe Parfum. Okay, and it reminds me of this. It does. It has striking similarities to this, and this fragrance is enormous. It's an experience to be had. This is not very far from it, and they veer off into different directions, but they do share a lot of common elements, and I can see where the inspiration may have come from. And I have got a vintage Mitsuko from the 1960s on its way to me, so I might find out more about where the inspiration for this came from. The Guerlain, I think, used to be just a regular Guerlain fragrance, which went for regular Guerlain prices. But now, if you can find it, it's like well in the $1,000 bottle for a bottle range, whereas the Hot Luxe by Roja is actually still more expensive. So you probably, if you're looking for this kind of scent profile, I mean, you wouldn't go wrong with Metallica. It did last for quite a long time. It was actually quite strong, and I don't think it's a very old fragrance either. Metallica launched in 2000, so yeah, it's not like a super duper vintage. Fantastic. This was launched in 2000. Wow, amazing. Wow, yeah. It's like this. It's the. If apparently there's vanilla in here, but like it's Lang Lang, it's Carnation, it's vanilla and tonka. But the way the vanilla and tonka is done, it's regal, opulent, classy, elegant at the same time. It's all of the things. It's all of the things that are good. Love it, absolutely. And I'm very thankful to have had the experience to smell that. And I'm very thankful to have had the experience to share that with you as well. I hope you enjoyed that. And the little story I told about Balenciaga at the beginning got nothing to do. This has nothing to do with all the drama that's going on with Balenciaga in recent times, which I'm not going to comment on because it's none of my business and I don't own any of their products other than that particular fragrance. So there you have it. And as always, thanks for watching.